My most recent show I call The Poetics of Evolution. I became interested increasingly in bones as they became available to me. My intent was to cast them in animal gut. My name is Carolyn Halliday, and I use fiber techniques, especially hand knitting, out of non-traditional materials to create three-dimensional objects, sculpture, and wall pieces. I like to say I use the vocabulary of textiles because I'm always thinking about what I want to do with this material or this particular piece, reference that language of textiles to make it into something that I think is a textile. I've always worked with themes of nature and body. Within that, there's little blips of wearable art, how a garment can also be a sculpture as related to some of those other themes, and then more currently, themes of ecology and evolution. When I was 17, I saw somebody spinning yarn, and I just thought that was the really coolest thing in the whole world. It was just the magic from this little fluff of fiber. You could make this yarn, and then that yarn could go on to make anything. When you think that for thousands of years, like Magellan's sails and Columbus's sails, they were made out of hand-spun, hand-woven cloth. I just think keeping connected with that is still magical. When I was growing up, I didn't really think of myself as a particularly outdoorsy person, but my dad was a huge outdoors person. So every single vacation was camping and driving somewhere to walk in the woods or go canoeing. So it's in me, and I do love it. I walk outside a lot. When I was running and walking for years, I would collect things that I thought were kind of interesting that I could make something out of. These are some kind of cool looking beat up cattails. I've never seen cattails along here before. It can go two ways. Like it can be things that are just a cool looking organic substance, or it can be like a cool object that somebody discarded. I feel like there's sort of two ways that has influenced me. One is just strictly the sheer beauty of picking up a stick. Oh, look at this. This is this beautiful growth that makes this gorgeous line. I like the idea of using something that is discarded, that it's the waste of either nature or humans. This is the second year I've done this. I call it my private public experiment. And I just wanted to have a little art project that was just sort of a whisper of a tree that people could notice or not notice, but that I could see when I walk by it every day. Well, it feels kind of like, I don't know, a little secret. And I like seeing if people notice it or not. And I just think it's cool. Like, I often use as a measure, well, if somebody else did that, I'd think it was really cool. So why don't I? My mom taught me how to knit when I think I was about 8. I'm always knitting. I carry knitting with me everywhere I go. I find it really, really soothing. My favorite non-traditional material to use for knitting is most often wire. And I like using all kinds of different kinds of wire, but it has to be malleable. I sometimes knit roots. A material that I'm using a lot right now that I really like is animal gut, animal intestine. The use of the gut is something that I had had in the back of my mind to use for a long time. I had seen it used in contemporary basket making as a covering, and I didn't know how to use it. And I just met somebody who said, oh, you just get some sausage from Cromarsix and you just use it. So I ran over to Cromarsix and bought some sausage casing and just started experimenting with it. Initially was using it and will continue to use it as a covering, but I was really interested in how I could knit it, and I didn't like how it knit just if you just knit the wet casings. So I did a lot of experimentation with how I could dry it, and loved that it was in essence a parchment so I could write on it, and I just really liked how I could tie it all together with Darwin's process of discovery and my process of discovery too. This is what the dried intestine or gut looks like. Ancient parchment was made from papyrus or intestine, so this is basically parchment, and so for me that links it with writing. So what I'm writing on here are the actual words that Darwin wrote in his notebooks, and I love just bumping around in his head as he is puzzling out what was basically a really controversial, insane idea, that we evolved from one species to another and that species are still evolving. I have increasingly moved more specifically into evolution and ecology because of conversations with my son and his wife, who are both ecologists. And I just find the language that they use so incredibly poetic. On the artist panel that we were in, my son said he tries really hard when talking to me to just be scientifically clear, but that then I hear it and it comes off as emotion and poetry. And then I like to bring that into my art. I grew up really shaped by traditional female domestic gender roles. You know, so I just got the idea that being an artist was somehow this like really cool thing that somebody bestowed upon you, you know, like being a chosen one. And I didn't think it was in my reach. There were many things that I didn't think were in my reach. And most of them I wasn't all that interested in doing. But I always harbored this yearning to express creativity. It's oddly like the most vulnerable thing I've ever done is to feel like I get to make art.